The Wano Arc is a divisive one amongst the fanbase, both in extreme views on it as a whole, or those with a more measured response seeing it as an arc filled with highs and lows to its writing. One such plot point was the reveal of what Luffy's Devil Fruit actually is, and the awakening of Gear 5th. Though Gear 5th is perfect as a power for Luffy in embodying his freedom and setting itself apart from the trend in action shonen to make transformations intimidating or cool looking. That's been a trend since Goku went Super Saiyan, or technically since Saiyan wore the Sagittarius cloth. By embracing absurdity and being a love letter to the old cartoon style, the purpose of this video will be going over the reveal of the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika's identity, which I'll be referring to from here on as the Nika fruit for brevity, and how well Luffy's awakening was handled. When it comes to answering whether or not it was foreshadowed well, most people point towards the Skypiea Arc's panels, displaying imagery now very relevant to Joy Boy, Nika, and the like, though there's less of a causal link, as with dialogue weaving itself into the narrative, as many come to expect for foreshadowing. Artwork foreshadowing later events is still very relevant when One Piece is part of a visual medium, where a story being able to convey its narrative through visuals can only be seen as a great success. What does cause it to get undervalued though, is that people are under the impression it was only the Skypiea arc that foreshadowed the fruit's mythical Zoan nature, which is far from true. In fact, the earliest foreshadowing for it goes back to the very first chapter, where Luffy notes feeling happier since eating the fruit. This seemed unassuming at the time, but became very odd as the story started to show many characters soon after eating their devil fruit, presenting no change in personality or mindset, yet it being made very apparent Zoans have specialized attributes even before the reveal of their fruit having its own will, such as Kaku being able to sense a great pressure before eating his giraffe fruit, or Lucci's full leopard form quickly resorting to primal instincts. The story also makes it clear at several points that Luffy's abilities don't fully match those of someone whose power is just a rubber body, though some may say the same for paramecia such as the Gura Gura no Mi, which is often brought up as a counterpoint when making the skies and seas quake defies what can seem possible. That fruit producing tremors or quakes rather than earthquakes specifically keeps its abilities consistent with how it's defined, whereas how Luffy's Gear 4th works would initially seem inconsistent for both a rubber power and the purely superpower paramecia. On the subject of the gears, these also seem strange for mere paramecia, as most transformations from such abilities tend to be purely external or come with even greater drawbacks if internal. In either case, users tend to only have one, whereas multiple transformations to switch between tends to be more the Zoan thing, especially when the arc that overtly introduced the concept of Zoans also displayed the idea of a great amount of forms, with the Rumble Ball, of which more links to Luffy's gears could be found when Chopper trained to utilize or fuse these forms without the Rumble Ball, which she now only needs for Monster Point. Something very striking when Luffy's Bound Man can be seen as a fusion of Gear 2nd's speed boosts with Gear 3rd's brute force, but to a greater degree than both. Perhaps the biggest hint towards Luffy's fruit not being what it seemed was in Impel Down, where Luffy overcame the hormone treatment in far less time than Ivankov said, of which can't be attributed to willpower alone, when a close confidant of both Dragon and Kuma definitely knows how to judge the high end of what willpower can do. It's not long after that we're introduced to the idea of the demon guards being awakened Zoans, and this bring their durability and stamina far beyond what should be expected of their power. Soon after, at Marineford, we're also shown that mythical Zoans can display some level of paramecia-esque abilities, despite clearly not working the same, such as Sengoku's shock shockwaves, making things look far more suspicious when getting to Luffy's display of Gear 4th, and shows why the reclassification of his fruit as the Gomu Gomu no Mi was able to be handled smoothly. The only thing acting as a real counterpoint to its mythical Zoan status seemed to be the idea that one learns their devil fruit's name and abilities after eating them. This comes from both misinterpretations Oda has cleared up, as their user being able to identify where they are in the devil fruit encyclopedia, and from mistranslations, as the actual line is closer to the user being able to tell what it should be called from what power it has. All that said, the other part to cover is how well was the awakening to Gear 5th handled, as it can seem pretty cheap that Luffy essentially died, Zunisha showed up to say Joy Boy had returned, and his heart suddenly restarts as we get a transformation, something I've compared in its sequence to things such as how Orange Piccolo in Dragon Ball Super just came about because the plot demanded it. On a closer inspection though, there are a few things worth taking into account with Luffy's awakening. There's the theory that facing or overcoming death is necessary for Zoan awakenings, which might be how Pale survived the bomb and may explain why someone of Kaido's level couldn't awaken whereas the demon guards can, but I won't factor that in while it remains a theory. A game.
No! None of that! Shame on you!
What is revealed about the acquisition of awakenings is that it's when a user's body and mind matches the power of their fruit, which would make sense for Luffy to achieve here when having brought his power to the point he can give Kaido a fight, while his mind embraced the battle as a fun event. Also, while it's a death and transcendent rebirth in a thematic sense, it's never confirmed he was clinically dead after Kaido's attack, and only presumed by those around who didn't bother to check. The question then becomes, why specifically after being defeated did Luffy awaken Gear 5th? And that can be answered with what winning the battle meant to Luffy, along with reiterating that defeating the main enemy is his duty that had to be upheld. When this became a 1v1, there was also the promise he made, and the importance of Pedro's sacrifice on the line with this battle, which didn't seem hopeless until Guernica interrupted it. This decisive blow required Luffy's resolve to free Wano and be free himself that had been increased when knowing what being imprisoned felt like, and have him awaken the drums of liberation when it was most essential. Frankly, its resolve boost nature still makes it very rough around the edges, but the context surrounding awakenings makes it quite narratively sound. The final part worth going over is Luffy's ties to Nika and Joy Boy, and how many erroneously believe this cheapens his character by making him a chosen one. This would be the case if the Gomu Gomu no Mi made him extra special from the start, and if he fully embodies Joy Boy's beliefs. As we are shown well in advance, however, the Gomu Gomu no Mi was absolutely useless at first, and took years of training to make into a power that could be used in a fight, with its evolution being a testament of Luffy's efforts and ingenuity. As for the Nika identity, it's made apparent soon after the awakening that Luffy has no drastic change to who he is as a person, with the only impact on his personality being Gear 5th making him even happier, to the point he uses it even when unnecessary, which also adds to the theory of the Enji steroid being an attempt to replicate it, with how that was addictive to Hody. If anything, it acts as a testament to Luffy's strength of character, when comparing him to those overcome by their Zoan awakening and becoming pure beasts, the exact opposite of what those touting it as cheapening his character say. With all that said, how was the whole reveal handled? Despite some parts of the actual awakening that could have been paced better, rather than the quick new heartbeat we got, I'd say Oda set up the pieces of the reveal well, to help make it one of the standout moments of Wano. With that, we've come to the end of this arc by arc video analysis series, due to the final arc being ongoing, unless there's a very big demand for an egghead topic. I do have a few more random ideas for new One Piece videos though, so stay tuned for them by subscribing and checking out the older ones. Now, wait until we set sail for the next video.